A boat is sitting on a dock in Fort Lauderdale. The owner bought it in 2021 for $1.2 million. He listed it in March at $850,000. It dropped to $720,000. He is at $680,000 now. 3 brokers, 0 offers. He keeps refreshing Yacht World to check whether someone else's identical boat sold, and they all show the same asking price. None of them sold either. This is not bad luck. This is happening to thousands of boats at once. And the reason it will not stop is something the industry has known about for 2 years and refused to say out loud. Caraibe Yachts' December 2025 market report delivers a number that should send a chill through anyone watching the used catamaran market. 30% of the boats currently listed are projected never to sell at all. This is not a throwaway estimate or a back-of-the-envelope guess. The figure comes from a forensic analysis of BoatWizard data, which covers more than 90% of brokered listings across the Caribbean and United States. The methodology is clear. Every active catamaran listing scraped from the major portals was tracked for time on market, sales status, and price movement. The survival analysis, borrowed straight from actuarial science, shows that as of the latest inventory snapshot, nearly 1 in 3 boats will age out of the market unsold, even after rounds of price reductions and broker swaps. The scale of the problem is visible in the raw numbers. On May 5, 2026, Yacht World returned 1,836 used catamarans in its public search API. These are not theoretical listings or phantom boats. They are live, time-stamped entries, each with a hull, a price, and an owner waiting for a buyer who may never materialize. Caraibe's projection is not a forecast about some distant future. It is a verdict on the current market reality. As of today, over 500 catamarans on Yacht World alone are already in the unsold cohort, flagged by months, sometimes years, of zero movement. Their owners are trapped in a holding pattern, watching as the same models linger, disappear, and reappear, with only the asking price changing. The magnitude of this inventory overhang is the foundation for everything that follows. A market where oversupply is not a phase but a structural feature, and where the odds are stacked against the seller from the moment the listing goes live. Boatshed's analysis of 30,000 closed catamaran transactions leaves little room for optimism. On average, sellers are forced to cut their asking prices by 28 to 30% before a deal closes. That is not a typo or a cherry-picked outlier. The dataset covers every major brokerage, every size class, and every region tracked by the Boatshed system. The pattern holds whether you are listing a 10-year-old Lagoon or a nearly new Fountaine Pajot. Owners who bought during the peak years, between 2015 and 2020, face even steeper losses. Over half of those resale prices end up slashed by more than 50% within a single ownership cycle. A $1 million catamaran bought in 2019 often fetches less than $500,000 when it finally sells, if it sells at all. The pain is not limited to individual sellers. Manufacturer financials are flashing red. Fountaine Pajot, the French builder responsible for some of the most popular models on the market, reported a 12.8% revenue drop in the first half of fiscal year 2025 to 2026. This is not a blip. It is the sharpest contraction since the COVID lockdowns. Katana Group, builder of the Bali line, posted an even steeper decline at 23.8% over the same period. These are not just numbers on a spreadsheet. They are the direct result of oversupply, relentless discounting, and a market that no longer believes in the old price floor. The consequences are plain. Price erosion has become structural, not cyclical. Brokers are watching as used catamarans linger unsold, manufacturers cut production and slash prices, and owners absorb losses that would have been unthinkable just a few years ago. The evidence is overwhelming. This is not a temporary soft patch, but a full-scale market reset. Scarcity was the pitch, and freedom was the product. In 2020 and 2021, catamaran ads did not just show boats, they sold the dream of escape. Brokerages and manufacturers filled their marketing with sound bites about freedom to roam, private islands, and live anywhere, work everywhere. With international travel locked down, the message hit like a drug. Suddenly, buyers who had never set foot on a multi-hull were wiring deposits for million-dollar vessels, convinced there would never be another chance. Waiting lists stretched into 2022. Dealers posted screenshots of backlogs and sold-out banners on model pages. Social media was flooded with stories of buyers flipping contracts for quick profits, feeding the sense that catamarans were a one-way ticket to a new life. The numbers tell the story. By late 2021, the typical purchase price for a new Lagoon 46 or Fountaine Pajot Elba 45 had surged to $1 million, sometimes $1.5 million, with barely a pause for negotiation. Brokers pushed the narrative that supply chain chaos made every hull precious, every slot a golden ticket. But the scarcity was engineered. Builders throttled production, citing delays, while quietly reserving inventory for charter fleets and preferred dealers. Broker portals like Yacht World and Boatshed became echo chambers, showing lists of sold boats and fast-rising prices. The portal mirage was complete. Buyers saw only the top of the market, never the growing backlog of unsold inventory hidden by expired or relisted ads. This was not a passive bubble. It was a dream sold on purpose, with full-page ads and YouTube influencers repeating the mantra that catamarans only go up. The marketing was relentless, and the incentives were aligned. Dealers collected bonuses for new build contracts, while brokers pocketed higher commissions on inflated sticker prices. The result was a psychological stampede, not just for boats, but for a story, one that would leave hundreds of owners trapped in a market that was never as tight as it seemed. Charter companies didn't just participate in the pandemic catamaran surge, they drove it to extremes. From 2020 to 2022, commercial operators signed contracts for more than 700 new 4-cabin cats, often buying entire production runs at once. These were not families dreaming of blue water escapes. They were fleet managers timing deliveries to match 5- and 7-year charter cycles, locking up supply before private buyers even had a chance. Builders like Lagoon and Fountaine Pajot shifted their lines to churn out charter layouts, pushing owner versions to the back of the queue. Waitlists stretched from months into years. But the true engine was the dealer incentive system. Factory holdback programs, delayed rebates paid only when a boat shipped and registered, turned every new build order into a payday. Internal memos from 2021 show holdbacks of €15,000 to €25,000 per hull on 45-foot boats, with extra bonuses for bulk charter deals. A single 12-boat order could trigger an €80,000 payout, plus volume rebates buried in quarterly reports. For big Caribbean dealers, the difference between selling a new charter fleet and brokering a used boat wasn't just about commission, it was survival. New build commissions hit 7% of manufacturer-suggested retail price, plus incentives, while used brokerage fees rarely topped 5% and often less after splits. The math was simple. Brokers could triple their earnings by steering buyers toward new builds instead of 3-year-old resales. Charter operators secured fleet pricing 8 to 12% below retail, a discount that would haunt the used market when these boats hit resale in bulk. The order backlog, once a sign of strength, became a looming threat. Most 2020 to 2022 deliveries are set to exit charter service between 2025 and 2027, meaning hundreds of nearly identical 4-cabin cats, optimized for maximum berths. Not comfort, will soon flood a market already straining under oversupply. Dealer incentives, charter contracts, and factory rebates all converged, creating a boom that data now shows cannot be unwound. Charter fleets run on a clock that doesn't care about resale values or private owner dreams. The majority of 4-cabin catamarans ordered in the pandemic. Boom, boats delivered in 2020, 2021, and 2022 are now staring down the end of their commercial service life. 5 to 7 years is the standard window for a charter hull. After that, the maintenance curve steepens, insurance premiums jump, and the economics of keeping the boat in fleet collapse. Operators cut their losses by dumping entire batches onto the used market in a synchronized wave. The calendar is not a theory, it's a schedule, and the next 3 years are circled in red. The numbers are not abstract. Industry filings and charter company disclosures confirm that between 2025 and 2027, nearly 1,000 four-cabin catamarans, mostly Lagoon, Bali, and Fountaine Pajot, will exit charter fleets in the Caribbean and Mediterranean. These are not scattered, one-off listings. They are bulk retirements timed by lease contracts and fleet renewal cycles. In 2020 alone, charter operators ordered more than 200 new four-cabin units. The following 2 years saw another 500 plus delivered. Now, as these contracts expire, the market is bracing for a deluge of near-identical hulls, all hitting the portals within a narrow window, all chasing the same shrinking pool of buyers. This is where the configuration mismatch becomes fatal. The resale market is already saturated with four-cabin, charter-spec layouts, boats optimized for maximum berths, not private comfort. Private buyers, when they appear at all, are hunting for three-cabin owner versions. Caraibe Yachts 2025 analysis found just 223 cabin Lagoon 42s on the market, compared to 764 cabin variants. That ratio gets worse as the charter dump accelerates. The result is a mechanical oversupply of the least desirable spec, with each new wave of ex-charter hulls pushing the previous batch further down the price curve and deeper into listing limbo. This is not just a question of volume. It is a structural mismatch that cannot be solved by price cuts alone. Four-cabin hulls linger, unconverted, unwanted, while three-cabin models sell quickly at a premium. The absorption rate collapses. Caraibe Yachts. Data shows that with every month, the unsold inventory grows more lopsided. By the end of 2027, the used market will be bottom-heavy with four-cabin charter relics, many of which will never sell at any price. The flood is not coming. It's already begun, and the water is rising one contract expiration at a time. Discounts that once seemed like a rare opportunity are now the main force dragging the entire used catamaran market downward. In 2025, dealer advertisements for new Lagoon 46 boats began to appear with sticker prices slashed to $850,000, down from the official factory list of $950,000. These are not isolated cases or end-of-season clearances. They are the public face of a new reality. Manufacturers are using factory-to-dealer discounts as a primary tool to clear unsold inventory and keep production lines moving. The impact is immediate and brutal for anyone trying to sell a used boat. When a buyer can walk into a dealership and order a brand new Lagoon for less than a 3-year-old model listed on Yacht World, the resale market freezes. Sellers are forced to chase the new price down, cutting their own listings again and again, often with no result. The numbers from the builders are damning. Catamarans Group, the company behind the Bali line, reported a 23.8% revenue drop in their 2024 to 2025 financial filings. Fountaine Pajot's own statements show a 12.8% decline in the first half of fiscal year 2025 to 2026. These are not cyclical fluctuations. They are the direct result of new build discounts rippling through the market, erasing the old price floor and leaving existing owners stranded above the waterline. Dealer inventory has climbed to nearly 6% of total capacity, up from just over 2% before the pandemic, exposing how much unsold stock is now clogging the system. The discount domino effect is visible in the brokerage data. Hedonic regression models built on more than 2,000 used catamaran listings show that every 10% discount on a new build shaves another 4% off the average used list price within 3 months. The effect is even worse for ex-charter boats, where the price pressure deepens to nearly 6% per discount wave. The result is a market where price cuts do not clear inventory, they just reset expectations lower and lower, trapping more sellers with every cycle. For private owners, the consequences are stark. Boats bought during the boom are now competing with factory fresh models offered at prices that would have been unthinkable just 2 years ago. The resale market is not just soft, it is paralyzed. This is not a temporary dip. The numbers confirm a structural shift, one that leaves hundreds of catamarans functionally unsellable, their value dictated not by age or condition, but by the next round of factory incentives. The cost burden of ownership, soon to be revealed, is only part of the story. The real damage is done every time a builder decides to move inventory at any price, resetting the market floor and leaving yesterday's buyers with nowhere to go. The annual cash drain of catamaran ownership is not a rounding error. It is a line item shock that hits from the first dockage bill. In Fort Lauderdale, a 45-foot catamaran requires a wide beam slip that runs between $1,600 and $2,000 per month. That is nearly double what a monohull of the same length pays for marina space, and over 12 months the difference adds up to $10,000 or more just to keep the boat tied up. Insurance is the next blow. Underwriters charge catamaran owners anywhere from 62% to 220% more than comparable monohull policies, citing dual engines, larger rigs, and higher replacement costs. For a typical 45-foot catamaran, annual premiums land between $7,200 and $9,600, compared to $3,600 to $4,400 for a monohull. Routine maintenance is another silent siphon. Twin diesels mean double the service intervals for oil changes, impellers, filters, and spare parts. Yearly mechanical care averages $3,500 to $4,500. Haul-out costs climb as well, since many yards cannot accommodate a 12-meter beam, forcing owners to wait or pay a premium for CAT-capable facilities. Each of these numbers is a hard recurring cash outflow. When owners realize the true cost of holding, the rush to sell is not a surprise, it is a financial necessity. A Lagoon 51, purchased for €1.2 million in May 2025, lands on the resale market just 5 years later. By August 2029, after months of price cuts and broker rotations, the boat finally changes hands for around €700,000. €500,000 gone. On paper, a 41% loss before even counting the cost of ownership. The numbers are not isolated or theoretical. Sale records from Caraibe Yachts and BoatWizard confirm that this is now the norm for late-model catamarans, not the exception. But the ledger does not stop at the sale price. Over those 5 years, the owner paid roughly €10,000 per year in marina fees and another €8,000 annually for insurance, each expense set by the realities of wide beam slips and higher risk underwriting. Routine maintenance and haul-outs added another €4,500 per year, with the yard premium climbing as CAT-capable dry docks hit capacity. In some regions, the wait for a haul-out stretched past 12 months, forcing owners to either pay extra or risk skipping critical work. Added altogether, €50,000 in marina fees, €40,000 in insurance, €22,500 in mechanical upkeep, and at least €10,000 in haul-out surcharges. The total cost of ownership over 5 years exceeds €120,000 on top of the €500,000 lost to depreciation. For many, the dream of owning a flagship catamaran has ended not in freedom or adventure, but in a financial crater from which there is no easy escape. 30%, not a forecast, an audited number from Caraibe Yachts, built on 90% of the active listings. The Portal Mirage is still live, but the correction isn't finished. From 2025 to 2027, the market will test every remaining illusion. You were sold a dream on purpose, but the sovereign sailor knew only the math holds the wheel. What's your plan? Drop your perspective below.